So guys, so in the spirit of mindfulness classes that we used to have on Sunday, I just wanted to jump on here and do a little bit of mindfulness stuff live instead of posting a written description or something like that. So today I'm going to be taking from this Act Made Simple. This is kind of like the philosophy that I'm kind of working under right now in my program. I'm getting my degree in sports psychology. And basically what ACT is it's a acceptance commitment therapy. And there's a few main goals, but really it's just working about working under self-compassion, working for your goals, using your values instead of things like extreme avoidance or fusion. So today I kind of just want to talk about values. And just read from a few of this stuff. I think that values are super important when it comes to goal setting. I think that if you have your values and you know what your values are, then you can better sync or anchor your goals into them instead of having goals that are rooted in trying to avoid something, or in this case, avoid something or distract you from something, or what is known as fusion, which is basically thoughts that dominate our physical actions and our awareness to a problematic extent. So in this, they use the example of, in a state of depression, clients may fuse with all sorts of unhelpful thoughts, such as, I'm bad, I don't deserve any better, I can't change, I've always been this way, life sucks. So we want to get out of that and into more self-compassion. And I think that that does start with our values, because we all live by values, whether or not we define them or not. So I think that it's a lot better to be able to define them and figure out what we're actually representing in our life and living for, than to go through life trying to avoid something or distract ourselves from something. So some values can be definitely difficult to find. If you guys follow Ben Greenfield, Joe might have talked about it a few times, but I think a good way to start discovering what your values are just writing down things that you like to do, what you do often, and how that kind of defines you as like characteristics for yourself. And I think that it can be hard to tease down what your values are. Like, I think a lot of times we start with like this really long list, and sometimes they aren't values that we're necessarily living by right now, but values that we would like to be living by. So in some sort of future sense. So I think that having both are really great to have, but if you're not currently taking action that represents a value that you want, then that's not necessarily a value that you're living for currently. So one way that NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, discovers people's values is just by eliciting them through conversation, by asking questions and getting deep into what we think, what we feel, and for like reasons for those things. And I think that that can come from just being mindful. But I think sometimes it's a lot easier when someone else is asking you the questions, because you're forced to think about something, or forced to think about it in maybe a deeper way than you are normally used to. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I didn't want to really get into finding your values, but I definitely want to get into that more in future sessions. I did want to just talk about one more thing, and that is something called sorry, I'm trying to find it. I think it's just called the away versus towards thoughts and feelings, or the hooked versus unhooked. And this can be something that can start to get you thinking about your values and what you're doing in your everyday life to figure out how to achieve your goals. So basically what that is if you can draw something like this, basically it's not that hard, but this is like a situation, your feelings or your thoughts. And then there's the thoughts about the thing that move you towards your goals. So they're unhooking you. And then there are thoughts and feelings that are moving away from your goals or hooking you. Basically, the hook is kind of like hooking you in those negative loops. So one thing that you could, like, for example, if the situation is, let's just say getting healthier, that's like a very broad thing. But let's just say, for instance, that we're using something broad and you want to get healthier. So that's kind of the situation. And then the thoughts about the thing would be like, well, I really don't want to give up my favorite dessert, or I'm going to be missing out on all these parties because I can't, that won't make me healthier, or I'll be drinking if I go to the party. Whereas something that's unhooking you, a thought that would unhook you is basically something like, I'm doing this because I want to live a long time for my grandkids, or I want to have more energy for my kids right now. Or if I give up my dessert, then I can find something that's healthier for me and still just as yummy. And I think that it's not necessarily that we can't have the hooked or away thoughts, but I think it's more about being mindful and recognizing that they are away thoughts, and either countering ourselves or reframing that thought so that they start to move towards the thoughts that we want to start having in order to reach our goals. So in this situation, I kind of used a reframing. So I want to get healthier, but I don't want to give up my favorite dessert. Well, you can reframe that and say, well, I'm not giving up dessert entirely. I'm just giving up this dessert in place of this dessert, or I'm replacing these ingredients for these ingredients, and it will still result in a delicious dessert, but the ingredients are they aren't taking away from my goals. So I can still indulge and still enjoy the thing, but still be moving at least in the direction that I want to be moving to get healthier. So I hope that makes sense, and we will definitely connect to that to values as well. But I think that it kind of, it's in the same line as goals. So like, okay, my value is integrity. Well, right now I'm doing these things that are moving me away from my value of integrity, but maybe I'm doing these things that are taking me towards my value of integrity. So it kind of goes hand in hand with mindfulness and self-compassion, and just showing you to recognize the thought. And then once you recognize it, you can change the way you think about the thing. Because if we don't even recognize it in the first place, then it's kind of hard to change. I hope this made sense. I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about some, not necessarily mindfulness stuff, but mindfulness and mindset stuff. And I definitely want to be doing more of this. So let me know what you think. And I hope it was helpful to just get started.